Alright, welcome to MountedShooter.com. Today we're going to learn how to make what we in the business call pins. This holds your balloon. This is a completed pin, and your end result should be one of these. So when I'm done, I should be able to put my air compressor on here, and voila, I got a completed pin. But how did we get there? Let's discover that. First thing you need is you need to get some lengths of 1/2 inch CPVC pipe. I think it comes in 10-foot lengths. You just go to your local Home Depot and get some of that. So 1/2 inch CPVC. Next thing you want is CPVC bushings. So these are made by Nibco and again Home Depot, and it looks like that. It's just a little bushing. And what I do is I take my jigsaw and I cut them approximately 3/16 inch thick. And then you also need a coupler, so it goes from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And then here's the meat of the thing. You need to get a 1/4 inch NPT pipe tap. That stands for National Pipe Thread, a 1/4 inch by 18 thread National Pipe Tap. So here's your tap. And I got it at Bixby Tool and Machine in Spokane. I think it was 12 to 14 bucks. It's been a while. Can't remember that far back. So there's your pipe tap. And this is the little bugger that does it all. It's your 1/4 inch NPT Schrader tank valve. So first thing I do is I cut these in approximately 1 foot lengths. And then I take my pipe tap and I take this Remington dry lube and I squirt the tap. I put it inside the CPVC and get it kind of lined up by hand. And you got to eyeball this thing to make sure it's relatively straight. So you can turn it in by hand. You can see where I'm getting bits and pieces of that CPVC. Now CPVC is pretty dry and it grabs the tap. So you can go in for a little bit, then I want to squirt it again, just a few shots of my Remington dry lube. And I found that the dry lube just works fantastic. So I'm running it in, and I need to back it back out because the threads get a little gummed up. You can see all that plastic on the threads. So what I do is I take my little utility brush, clean the threads off real quick. Trust me, I've tried to do the whole thing at once. It really doesn't work that well. So, carefully thread it back in. You can feel the tap catching the threads you've already cut partially. A little shot of my dry lube. And here we go. And I should be able to make it the rest of the way. Bear in mind your actually tank valve is only about 1/2 inch long. But it's a little easier to thread this all the way. Should be good. Then I take my tank valve and I put a little of the blue RTV silicone sealant. Make sure you don't cover the hole, just enough right here. Screw it in. There we go, nice and tight. So I have my valve. I have the way I can get the air in the tube. Now we have to contain the balloon on top of the pin, and also to keep the pins from falling down inside. So what I do is I take this coupler and I take my little 1/2 inch drill bit, a spade bit, a wood spade bit, and I take and drill through the coupler. So you can see there's a little ridge inside. I remove that ridge so that it slides on all the way. So you see it can't go on. That ridge is still there. So once I've completed that, I slide it on. I use my CPVC primer, put some primer on there, and then I use my cement, slide it on. It bonds probably within 20 seconds. So I think on these 1 foot long pins, I slide it down anywhere between 4 and 6 inches. Well, not 6 inches, probably more like 4 inches, because you want the pin to not tip over once it's inside the PVC. So next I take my little bushing, cut it with my jigsaw into these small pieces, and same thing, I can slide it on the end. Now I've got a way to retain the balloon. Again, I use my glue, my primer and my glue it on, set it down. Excuse me. Now you can work through a bunch of them. I think that glue takes about 5 minutes to dry, and what you end up with at the end of it is a pin that retains air. Now a lot of guys are using 3/4 inch PVC. They're taking the rubber valve ends, they're shaving them down, they're gluing them in, they're putting little foam collars on. This thing is really solid. It'll virtually never leak air. And there's your handy dandy pin. So once again, half-inch C PVC pipe, 1/4 inch by 18 thread National Pipe Thread tap, and my 1/4 by 1/4 inch NPT tank valve. And then you just take the caps off and throw them away. You can do 10 an hour on these. The hard part, the longest part, is taking the time to cut everything to length. And that's how you make your own homemade pins that don't leak. And this is Tim Johnston from MountedShooter.com.